Welcome to the Why Coaching Works podcast. My name is Monte Wyatt, and I'm here to take you on a journey into the world of coaching, exploring its many different facets and uncovering its profound impact on individuals, businesses, and executives alike. We'll be delving into real-life case studies combined with in-depth research from coaching experts to give you a better understanding of why coaching works today. So if you're ready to begin your exploration into the power of coaching, then let's get started. Before we start today's episode, here's a short message from Adding Zero's Executive Development. As CEO, you demand performance and results from your team. If you're committed to developing a cohesive, driven organization that achieves successful outcomes every single month, we need to talk. It's time to see how organizational and executive development from Adding Zeros can help. We focus on strategic planning, executive coaching, team alignment and engagement, organizational culture, and clarity of implementation. Contact me, Monte Wyatt, by booking an appointment at AddZerosNow.com. That's AddZerosNow, AddZerosNow.com. If you're ready, now is the time. I have 2 coaching spots available for 2024. Lock in your team today. Now let's begin today's episode. Welcome to the Why Coaching Works podcast, where we talk about the impact of coaching, growth of businesses, and personal development. I'm your host, Monte Wyatt. If you are a CEO, a business owner, or an executive, this is a show for you. We call our audience the achiever because you are going to the next level in everything that you do. So you achievers out there, you're going to learn some great tips today on why coaching works and some great tips on how to grow yourself and your business. So it is my honor today to have a great friend of mine from Pennsylvania joining us. He's got a 30-year career in accounting, risk management, sales, and business education. He and his clients have won both international as well as national business growth awards. And he has a goal of having the greatest amount of positive impact on the greatest number of people through his facilitation of his clients' optimal success. So with that, I want to welcome Sam Mugavero from Pennsylvania. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Monty. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to our conversation. You've had some great successes, some great history that I'm looking forward to you sharing with our team and the achiever out in the world. So I do appreciate you joining us. You know, just a little bit of background, if you would share with us how you got into coaching yourself.
Well, actually, I was at a networking event probably about 10, 12 years ago now in Houston when I was living there. And a CPA in the conversation said, well, my business coach says, and I was asking her, what exactly is that? That was Wednesday. Friday, I had coffee with a friend and was saying I was going to look into becoming a business coach. And he said, you'd be great, and told me all these reasons why, which was wonderful. And he knew a guy. And that guy turned out to be Doug Winnie in Houston, who was at that time the #1 business coach in the world. Had a conversation, a half-hour conversation with Doug that turned into 2 hours. He invited me to come back the next week and had another half-hour, 2-hour conversation. And then he offered me a job as business development. And a year later, after learning more about practice and learning a lot, really, he sent me to certification school, and I've been coaching ever since. So it's probably about 10 years right now.
Oh, that's wonderful. What made you say this is for me? What really connected with you?
You know, that's a good question. For the longest time leading up to that, was in sales. But I have an MBA in finance, I have a BS in accounting. So I have the financial technical aptitude, but I also have the communication style, more of a salesperson. And I knew there was somewhere in there that I could teach people or mentor people or do something. But I honestly, I guess it was the circles that I was traveling in, had never heard of business coaching. And man, when I met Doug and learned all about it, I knew this is like the perfect fix for me. And it has been. It's been great.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. And you said you used to live in Houston. Now where do you live?
I live in eastern Pennsylvania. I live in actually Easton, Pennsylvania, which is 65 miles west of New York City, Manhattan, and 53 or 4 miles north of Philadelphia. So right where they meet, intersect, is right where I live.
Oh, that's fantastic.
4 miles from New Jersey, if that helps anybody.
Look close to about everything out there, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. I read an article from local economic development that said that 40% of the people in the country live within 6 hours of where I am.
40%?
of the population of the country. When you think about it, 6 hours away is Boston. I mean, 3 hours is Washington, D.C. So I can go down to almost Roanoke, Virginia in 6 hours. 6 hours west is out in Ohio, Cleveland. So it's a pretty big area within 6 hours of where I live.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is fantastic.
a lot of big cities. Yeah, yeah, makes it interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I really appreciate your background, because I think that's something that everybody needs to recognize. Your history helps you become who you are today. And you know, whether it's your corporate experience or your personal experience, that helps you become who you are today. And I'd love to hear a story or two on how you've helped your clients grow themselves and then grow their businesses, because there's two different things. There, you grow personally, but you also grow the business. So tell us an example of that.
Okay, well, let me say a little bit about, to me, what coaching is, because it's a couple different things first, and then I'll tell you a story. So for me, working with a smaller business, it's creating the plans for success for the owners, and then holding them accountable. So some of the biggest challenges for small business owners is making plans and then executing the plan. And if they have no one holding them accountable, it's probably not going to happen. So the clients that I have, some of them started with me a couple years back, and well, a lot of them started with me a couple years back. But actually, it's amazing watching them grow and going from a $600,000 business to a $6 million business to a $12 million business, and still kind of be the same person, but a much more developed mindset person, much more confident, much more broad-minded. And one of the things that overarches all of my coaching actions is the goal of being as abundant as you can be. Because I really, 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 like you said in the intro, having the greatest impact that I can on as many people as I can. If I can grow them and help them to become as abundant as possible, they're going to give back to the communities, which has a great impact on the community. So for small business owners, it's accountability and planning and execution. With the larger business owners, where I do more of a quarterly planning program, it's bringing clarity to how a CEO and an executive team leads and manages their organization. And I actually use the 5 disciplines of exponential growth from the book Pulling Profits Out of a Hat. So I use that. But I also still coach them in a traditional sense too, on a monthly basis. So the bigger they get, the more education they need. So I encourage business owners to read as much as they can. I probably read about 100 books a year, whether it's audio books or actual reading my Kindle. I love the Kindle. So that's pretty much how I do the coaching. And I think the biggest impact, without going through a whole lot of stories, me, is helping business owners gain confidence, because it seems to me that the perception is, oh, he or she owns a business, they're extremely confident. They know what they're doing, they're leaders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, they're not as confident as you would think. And so many times we'll talk through something in a coaching session, and I'll just say, what? Why do I believe in you more than you believe in you? And it's just, it sinks in, and it really helps them get by the obstacles. So
What areas would you say they need confidence in?
Decision making. They don't believe. They're afraid to commit to decisions because they don't believe enough in what their decisions, the impact their decisions are going to have, or the results they're going to have. So they're afraid. They don't want to jump out into space. I mean, it's hard to do until you're used to doing it, and you start routinely going over and over and over again, doing over and over, and having the support to do that. But it's hard. I mean, you think about the difference between, just like in the NFL, for example, the difference from the really successful teams like the Eagles or the Chiefs and the less successful teams, and you can pick whatever one you want, is probably 4 players. 4 players. Same with a business. It's just maybe 4 thoughts that are holding you back, or 2 thoughts that are holding you back from achieving whatever your dreams are that you want to achieve. So, sorry, I'm getting a little handsy here with my arms going up and down, but you can tell I'm pretty passionate about what I do.
I love that. I want you to dig deeper into a couple things. You said you help people be more abundant. Tell us more about what abundance means and how you help them think abundantly.
Okay. So to me, abundance means having more than enough, and sharing that with others. So in the context of a business, if your goal is to grow your business to $5 million, one of the things we talk about is when you get there, what are we going to do with the money? Some of it has to do something to benefit some of the constituents in your community. Okay, you're working in a community, you're growing in a community. How are you helping them other than, oh, well, we're giving them jobs? Well, that's great. So is everybody else. But how are you going a little further? I'm looking for excellence. How do you go a little further than the average business owner and actually give back to your community? So that's from a business point of view. From a personal point of view, I think there's only two ways you can think with regard to abundance, either abundance or scarcity. If you're thinking abundantly, you're going to make the decision confidently to achieve your goals. If you're thinking scarcity, you're probably thinking, oh, I better hold back. I better wait for the worst thing that could happen rather than the best thing that can happen. So it can either be one or the other. And we can only be, abundant or scarce. I feel have the sense of scarcity.
I love that. I want to add to that just a little bit. When I think of abundance, I think of the phrase, how can we? So many times we have the scarcity mindset. We can't do that. We don't know how. We don't have the resources. No, it's an abundance mindset is how can we make this work? And I think that's a great way. And that's a lot of where I focus as well, as helping people think differently of how can we make this work instead of we've never done that before, or we don't know how to do that.
I agree 100%. I mean, you can think one of two ways. Either we can or we can't.
Right.
And if you're thinking you can't, you honestly never will. If you're thinking you can, you have a much greater chance of achieving what you want to achieve.
Yeah. So when you say thoughts are holding people back, that's a confidence thing, but what are some other areas where their thoughts are holding them back besides decision making?
Okay, that's good. So maybe they've had failures in the past and they look backwards instead of looking forward. I am not a backwards focused person. I look forward. Whatever happened yesterday or 15 or 20 minutes ago cannot be changed. It happened. So if you're thinking backwards, I'm looking to my left, I'm looking backwards. If you're looking backwards, there's no way you can see what's ahead. And if you're constantly looking ahead and looking for opportunities that you can take advantage of through abundance, then you're going to be successful. You just can't keep those anchors holding you back. I mean, my goodness, we've both been on the planet a long time. Imagine if we just were still anchored by things from 20, 30, 40, or 50 years ago without giving our ages. You just can't do it. So I'm not saying be reckless going forward. I'm just saying learn from the past and move forward. That's all. I mean, it's pretty simple. I try to keep it simple.
Our experiences in life either teach us what to be concerned about or teach us where we can be abundant and be aggressive with based on our successes or our failures or our learnings. Instead of failures, it's what did we learn from it? But most people do view them as failures, don't they? And that's the challenge. True. What did we learn from that? So, when I think of coaching, it is reframing the positioning of how I think, how I do things. And that's a big part of what coaching does, is reframe how people think about things. And that's one of our biggest roles, is to change that thought process. So I love that you shared that.
Thank you. Yes, I believe that 100%. One of my questions, okay, what would hold you back from?
Absolutely.
Let's face that right up front and let's get past it.
Maybe tell us a story of how you've been coached and how you grew from being coached by someone else.
Oh, okay, great. So I've had a lot of mentors and coaches, including you, throughout my career. But sometimes the most obvious thing is like crazy. So early on, when we moved back here to Pennsylvania from Texas, we actually moved here about 4 months before the pandemic. And of course, my networking has been my biggest marketing success. And so there wasn't much networking going on during the pandemic. And at the time, the CEO of Action Coach was my coach. And I guess I was being a little whiny. I said to him, there's not enough networking things. And he says to me, why don't you start your own? Duh, I did start my own. It's been very successful. That's an experience of, like I say, people sometimes can't see ahead. I just never gave it a thought. So I did. So I started my own. We get about 30 people there once a month. So it works out good. So that's an example of, I will say this though. The book, The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. The other thing, one of the things in that book, and I think one of the things that being coach has helped me do or find out is the question of what am I not seeing? So what am I missing? What am I not seeing? What am I missing? It's easy to, I don't think our job is easy, but it's easy to get yourself in that mindset that you got it all together. And you need another coach to help you say, okay, how do you get through this? How do we do that? Or the first time you're going to do something different with your clients or with your practice, it's as scary for me as it is for any other business owner. So I can rely on a coach to help me get through that.
I love what you just said. To me, one of the biggest values and benefits of having a coach is helping people see what they can't see themselves. We are so close to the fire, we can't see that the fire hydrant is right next to us, so that we can really solve the problem. So I just love how you said that. What am I not seeing? And having someone help you see through that by asking the right questions, making you think about things that you hadn't thought about before, challenging you to do things that you never thought you could do.
Oh my goodness, yes. And when he said to me, start your own networking, I cracked up. I started laughing. I was like, oh wow, yeah, I could do that, couldn't I? It's like such a simple thing that I don't know for what I couldn't see it. I guess what it was. I just couldn't see it, but I do see it now. Anyway, I mean, it could be that simple.
I think that's a great point. Coaching it's the small things that make a big impact. And that's what can change the whole game of business, is by having someone helping you see the small things that are causing a big challenge, and how do we address that small thing to make a big impact.
Oh, I agree. And it's fun when clients are taking those small steps necessary, and in a couple of weeks or months down the road, they look back and go, wait a minute, how do we get here? They all of a sudden realize, oh my gosh, it's working, and it's not, whether it's financial or adding people or whatever it is we're working on. Yeah, it's really fun for me to when it clicks in, they go, oh my gosh, I was so worried about this. I mean, I had somebody that was worried when it started out with me. They were about 20,000 a month, so it was a smaller business, and couldn't wait till they got to 40,000 a month. Okay, so it took a little time, maybe about eight months or so. And then he was saying to me, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm at 40. I need to get to 50. And he was kind of complaining about not making enough yet. He thought he needed to make more, which he can. I said, remember a couple months ago when you were at 20 and hoping you could someday get to 40? Oh, you're right. Yeah. I just love those moments when they go, wow, they really did this.
Absolutely.
It's so rewarding. I mean, I think it's great. I just love it.
I've got a client. They've got a mantra right now. It's hashtag it's working. It's so funny that it is. It's when you start getting the momentum, things start to work. And a lot of the times, you said it earlier, it's gaining confidence in their decision making to move forward and doing different things that they've never done before.
Yeah, one of my clients, who's one of my more recent clients, started out, she was negative cash flow, and in the last 4 months, she's gotten a contract for 250,000, and she has business on the books for another 180. She did it. I just stood there and held her hand and walked her through it, figuratively speaking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love it when that happens. It's like, yeah, all right, because I know it's going to. So one of my clients was talking to someone else with a prospect, and he was the prospect was saying, well, I don't know if I can really afford to do this. And the client said, listen, you're going to make the money if you do it. You just need to be confident, step out and take the shot at it. I mean, because it works. I mean, coaching works. I don't know.
So why do you think people say no to coaching?
Because they don't see the value. So that's a great question. I don't think they see the value. So for me, when I am interested in enrolling someone in coaching, I do a 2-hour complimentary coaching session. No sales. We work through 2 areas of their business, whether it's sales, marketing, team, finance, or operations. We work through 2 of those. And I tell them right up front how much coaching is for my practice. And I always say this, And at the end, if we can both see the benefits of working together, I'm going to ask you to move forward. Yes or no, either one's a good answer, but you need to be walking towards me and want to do this. I will not sell you anything, and I do not sell anything. And that's it. I guess that's the answer to your question.
So when you say they don't see value, is it value that they can actually do it, or that they believe that an outsider can really help?
Almost, I guess when I think about it, it's almost that they haven't had enough challenge yet to see that they're going to need help. So you and I both know that we can't coach somebody that knows more than we do because it's never going to work. So a lot of times for people, they don't see the value because I guess, like I said, they just haven't had enough challenge to say, I need to find a better way. I need help to do this. I need something that I don't have, and it's not another human being that I can employ, or it's not more money. I need something's missing here. It's almost like that question, what don't I see? And when they get there, they're ready. But I will say this, we as coaches do our best for our clients, and we ask the greatest questions we can ask them. So we always have to be good with the questions that we ask them.
Yeah. To add on what you just shared, I think people say no to coaching because they don't see a big enough picture. They, as you said, maybe they haven't had enough pain that they see that they need help. It's they don't have enough of a vision of a future, or it's big enough that they don't see that I don't know how to get there. And that's when, it helps people get to that next level, is by having that trainer. And that's why our audience is the achiever, because they're always going to the next level. And I think that's a great point, is somebody who wants coaching wants to go to the next level. They can see what it is, but they're not sure how to get there. They want someone to help guide them. I had a trainer this morning at the fitness club, and he's helping me lift more weights than I had before. And he's given me some techniques, and he's giving me some encouragement. And that's really what people need, is technique and encouragement. And oftentimes, whether you're a CEO or an executive or a business owner, the loneliest place is at the top. And you need that encouragement. You need that person with the technique. And that's another perspective of looking at it.
Well, speaking of being at the top, so last weekend, I think I told you that I was doing this. I went down to Atlanta and went to the PGA Professional Tour Championship. 30 players of all the hundreds that play are in the field. So I walked it with my granddaughters and my son on Friday. The top players in the world, they don't have a coach. They have coaches. When they're hitting into the driving range, there's a guy standing there to swing coach. When they're thinking about what they're going to do on the course before they play, they have a thought coach. They have coaches for fitness. They have probably each of them has 4 or 5 coaches. And these are guys, the guy that won over $12 million. And he knows he needs coaches. So I said to anybody else, what makes you think you couldn't take advantage of a coach and even improve your performance even more? Who is that person that doesn't really need a coach? I've never met that person.
And most of those coaches don't know golf as well as the players, but they know the mindset, they know the fitness, they know the different aspects that build the golf. And
that's right.
And I think that's the same way in business. We may not know their business as well as they do, but we know business, we know mindset, we know different ways of thinking, and we give them that outsider's perspective that maybe they aren't getting somewhere else.
That's so true. I remember, oh gosh, it's probably 6 years ago. I was at a networking event, and we were talking a little bit about coaching. Someone said to me, well, you couldn't really coach my business because blah, 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 whatever the reason was. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you have sales? Yeah. Do you have team? Yeah. Do you have marketing? Oh, yeah, yeah. Do you do finance? Do you do your bookkeeping? Oh, yeah. And do you have operations? Yeah. Well, I coach your business 25 times a week. It's just not plumbing or whatever it was at the time. Business. The whole thing is what you just said. There's a way of growing a business no matter what the business is, and it's consistent with the formula that we use. So,
absolutely. Just along those same lines, what suggestion or tip would you give to someone who is thinking about hiring a coach?
Well, what I would do is look in the area that they live in, or even, I mean, we're all international or national at this point. Find someone who's a coach, find several, interview them or work with them for an hour or two, and see if it's a fit, and if you can see the value of working with that person. Like I said before, I don't sell it. I sit with them for 2 hours. We work through things. I coach them for 2 hours. And if they can see the benefit of us both work, if we can both see the benefit of working together, they're going to go forward with it. If they don't, then I tell them, find somebody else that's a better fit. It's probably not me. That's okay. But you're still going to need a coach. Just because I'm not the person doesn't mean they shouldn't work with you or lots of other coaches you and I know. Find a fit. And realize that there's a lot that you don't see. Okay, there's a lot that you don't see.
I love that. I love that. You know, the last question I always like to ask on our show is, why do you believe coaching works?
Coaching gives you such an outside perspective. Like you had said earlier, when we're running a business, we're so narrowly focused on what's going on here that when someone from the outside is looking in, they see so many different things that could be improved or eliminated and increase your performance. So yeah, coaching it just really helps people. I don't know. I think the outside perspective is huge, and the accountability. I don't know if our listeners are familiar with DISC, but in DISC, I'm an I, so I'm the guy that's the relationship-based guy. I'm an extrovert, which you probably could tell. And I love people. I love relationships. I love people. However, if you're not doing your work, I turn into the D person, who is the person that's a lot more goal-oriented and a lot more stern and holding you accountable to what you need to do. So I can change, and the accountability is huge because we all have big ideas, right? But if we don't move towards them, we're not going to get to where we want to get to. Like you said with your trainer this morning, you had an idea of what you wanted to lift, but the trainer's there to make sure you do what you need to do to succeed in your training program. So the accountability is huge.
Absolutely. You know, I love a number of things that you shared today, especially what you just said. It's an outside perspective. It's accountability. It's helping people think abundantly. You said that a number of times, and helping people see what they can't see and do what they can't do on their own. They'll get there, but it'll just take longer. They'll get there, but they may have to go forward and then backwards and forward and then backwards before they get there. We help them get there in a most efficient fashion. So I love it. You know, Sam, I really appreciate you being on Why Coaching Works, because I think this is a powerful session, and I want to challenge our achiever, the audience, the achiever, to make sure that you have someone that's giving you an outside perspective, someone that's helping you think more abundantly and holding you accountable to the goals that you have, because it's a crazy world. There's always a new fire, and you need to get redirected back to what's most important. So any final tips that you'd give to our audience?
Final tip is, when you do get a coach and you're thinking that you don't have enough time for coaching, you'd be surprised at how much time you end up with after a week or two. Great point.
Great point. Because a lot of times the first thing we focus on is time.
Yeah. Just another anecdote. One of my clients who I meet him for lunch for his coaching session every week. And when we started out, he was playing whack-a-mole. Now he's like, I can stay a little bit longer because things are happening at work and I don't have to be there, which is so amazing because it's a family business which has its own dynamics, and he's the head of the business of the family as well. So it's kind of funny when in the beginning he was like, well, I got to get back, and now it's like, well, I can stick around a little bit if you want.
I got extra time.
Which is great. So I always build a half hour extra in there anyway, because I know he's going to say that. Anyway, so that's it. I appreciate the time, Monte. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, thank you for joining us. And to our achiever, keep up the great work. Keep focusing on your personal development. Make sure you have somebody holding you accountable and helping you see things that maybe you can't see. Make sure you like our episode, share it with others, and subscribe to our podcast. Have a great week. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for listening to the Why Coaching Works podcast. I hope this episode has helped you see the individual, business, and executive impact, growth, and development that coaching provides. Please take a second to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Each review helps me impact more people just like you and make a difference in this world. See you on the next episode of Why Coaching Works.